a lawyer, a PR executive, an art museum curator, and a writer. 4 very good jobs, all held by women, in the series Sex and the City. These women are successful with their jobs, their friendships, and of course they are still on that quest to find the one perfect guy. This series, I think, played an important part in showing that females can have the lead role. They don't have to be the stereotypical female on screen that we have come to expect to see. I am actually a fan of the series Sex and the City, and I think it is a funny show, and they do show some real-life experiences on film. I have actually seen every single episode, as well as both the movies that have come from the television series. So maybe I'm not just a fan, maybe I am an aficionado. Throughout each season, I have watched these strong women with great careers and great friendships grow only stronger to support one another through the hard times as well as the good. For those of you that are not fans of the show or have never seen an episode, please take a minute to view the link that I have posted in the discussion section, and this might give you more of an insight into the series. It will give you just a glimpse into the lives of 4 women living in New York and developing their everlasting friendships with one another over cosmopolitans and coffee. The television series Sex and the City, I believe, attempts to give the world a positive viewpoint on the lives of women and what we are really thinking. The production time and also the production company of the show, I think, is something important to keep in mind as we go through this analysis. Also, I will talk about how I think race, gender, and class play an important part when we analyze this and we look at the television series closely. So to start, I want to first talk about the production and political economy during the running of Sex and the City. Sex and the City is a television series that was originally broadcasted on HBO. I believe being broadcasted on HBO gave them some freedom compared to if the series had been shown on Fox or NBC. There were very few limitations that existed when the show was being televised. For example, Sex and the City was being broadcasted on HBO. They were able to be more provocative and free when showing sex scenes, as well as using graphic language. And nowadays, this show actually has reruns that plays on other channels, such as the E! Channel. And there are parts of almost every episode that are cut out because of the sexually explicitness of the show and also the graphic language. This show did not have to fit into normal rules and conventions of production because it was broadcasted on HBO. There were no commercials, so it was typically a little bit longer than the normal television show. These 4 women had very few limitations because they were considered to be in the glamour industry now, as well as being a media spectacle. So they were a fashion, beauty, style, and sexual icon, which we learned about actually in our textbook, Chapter 1, titled Cultural Studies, Multiculturalism, and Media Culture, which is written by Douglas Kellner. We now have the ability to watch a show that portrays women in the lead role, and they are beautiful, smart, and successful with their careers. This is something that we usually don't see all that often. So now we can look at this from a textual standpoint and analyze what is actually being shown to us on screen. So the textual analysis that I have done of the show does give off some positive views of women. The power of women's friendships has been reclaimed and restored, as well as women now have the ability to speak more openly, more freely about their sex lives. These 4 women have very strong friendships throughout the entire series of the show, and this is not a threat to their heterosexual identities. This is something that is stated and talked about in our textbook in Chapter 9, which is actually titled Sex and the City, Carrie Bradshaw's Queer Post-Feminism by Jane Gerhard. Also stated by Gerhard is that a project of some feminist historians was to get the strength back in a woman's friendship with other women and with one another, which these 4 women, I think, they have displayed that throughout the television series and again into the 2 movies that follow the television series. These women also now have the ability to open up about their sex lives, which I think is a big step for women, and especially for it to be shown on film. So often in the past, I think it was very taboo for women to bring up this subject, even if they were just among close friends. And I have learned from chapter 62 of our textbook that when sexuality becomes invested in somebody, they assume this responsibility of their own sexual health. And these women, I think, definitely portray that and show that on the show. Of course, I had to be fair, and I wanted to look at the show also with a critical eye and discuss some things as far as race, gender, and class that I think come off as negative or could be improved on. Of course, no show is going to be perfect because it is a television show. It's there for our entertainment. So not everyone will like every single show and what is shown. But there are some classical stereotypes regarding women that are still present in this particular show. Some of the stereotypes of women that are shown in the television show Sex and the City that could be considered negative are, we are shown the lives of 4 white upper-class women living in New York City who have the ability to shop until they drop. And also, as we have learned so much in our class this year, men still seem to be the one main focus. Even with these 4 very successful women, anyone who has seen the show can tell you it's about men and them finding that guy for them. So to go into more detail, the show I think can be positive for women, and they may even get a sense of empowerment when watching the show. The problem is that we are seeing only one type of female portrayed in this show, and that is the white female who also has enough money to spend $400 on just a single pair of shoes. Well, this is something that unfortunately cannot reach a lot of women on a personal level, I myself being one of those women because I do not have that luxury to spend that much on shoes. But the majority of women also do not have that type of lifestyle in the world. We are limited as far as what we see when it comes to a variety of races on the show as well. White women as well as white men are very dominant in the show. These women, with their different jobs and lives, seem to be focused again on that one major thing, and that is to find the perfect guy. Again, this is something that we see women focused on and wanting and desiring men. It's a common stereotype that we see in all sorts of film and media. And this, again, is something that we learned early on. Women are portrayed this way, and it's a form of submissiveness compared to men. And this we learned from the Codes of Gender film, Identity plus Performance in Pop Culture, done by Sut Jahali. So yes, we still see some typical negative stereotypes of women being submissive, which is portrayed in the television series Sex and the City. And it may not be as diverse as one would hope that it would be. But in my opinion, I do think that we have at least taken one positive step towards giving society a better glimpse of women than what we have had in the past. The television series Sex and the City, I believe, attempts to give the world a positive viewpoint on the lives of women and what we are really thinking. We can see that there were very few limitations when it came to the show and how it was produced, as well as there being positives for women on film, such as powerful friendships being reclaimed and restored, as well as a more open and accepted way of women being able to communicate to one another and to others about their sexual lives. Hopefully we can start to see more examples like this in our society, media and film, and hopefully this will start to empower women in a positive way and help to see men to see women in a different way. The more representation and diversity that there is to show, the more empowered women can start to feel about themselves.